am Kamakshi Devi. I am Jayachamraj's fourth child and third daughter. Jayachamraj, Maharaja of Mysore.
I am Pramoda Devi, daughter-in-law of Sri Maharaja Jayachamraj, wife of Sri Srikandatha Narasimha. He is the only son of the Maharaja, and I am their sister-in-law.
I am Indrakshi Devi, daughter of Jayachamraj, the Maharaja of Mysore. I am the fifth daughter.
My father was the Maharaja, and jewelry was part of their ensemble. The main thing was here, unlike in Tamil Nadu, a lot of other gemstones were also used, not only rubies, so emeralds and diamonds and rubies, of course, and pearls also, lots of pearls.
The turban piece, that's called sirpage, and then the side pearl drops. And then we have a distinctive names for certain pieces of jewelry, like one which goes but which sits flat on your neck like a collar, that's called adige, and the choker is called choker only. And there are different pieces, and the men, her father, particularly Dasara, they wore, and even my husband wore Ratnopavita, which symbolizes the thread, what you wear underneath.
Yes.
But it's called, because of it's got pearls or jewelry, it's called, pieces of gemstone, it's called Ratnopavita. That is also there, and then there are quite a few specific ornaments called Taithimuttinsara, Satladi, like that. Taithimuttinsara is, I think, again kind of unique to Mysore. It's got it's pearls and Taithi meaning it's a kind of a amulet with two beads on either side with strings of pearls. And of course, they also wore toe rings and an anklet. Women, of course, wore, again, very unique to Mysore, particularly to our community, that is Arso community, is a waist belt. And again, adige, and there is another piece called gopu. It's got a big pendant with pearls. Then the choker and anklet. And of course, we wear a different type of Mangal Sutra. A lot of people wear it in yellow thread. But in our custom, it's put on a gold chain straight away, and then on the day of the wedding, it's put on with the gold chain. There is no practice of putting it in that yellow thread and then changing it on to gold. Generally, another very specific piece of jewelry is what you wear on your ear called, it's a jumki. It's got a very specific name called Chalatumbu. And then the chain which is taken behind your ears and fixed in your hair. And then something similar to what dancers wear on the forehead. That is also called Mungurul Patti. And sometimes they do wear with two side pieces which represent sun and the moon. It's called Hare Chandra Mungurul Patti. And of course, we also wear just not like the North Indian Mangtika, but a smaller one. Very specific to
Baitale
South
Sara.
Baitale Bhattu.
Baitale Bhattu.
Specific to Karnataka, Mysore. Nowadays they wear very big ones like Punjabi. In the north they wear a huge one. This is usually two-lined pearls or a chain and a smaller piece.
We had the ACHARIS working in the palace itself. There were two of them working.
If you want to make any ornament, first the piece was taken and then made they drew the design on that, and then it's cut. It's all handmade, and there were no machines those days.
And they all repair work and all that they used to do, and then they used to do the Gandaberunda also, which was gifted to everyone, and they used to do all the work in the palace itself.
Gandaberunda is a literal translation, of course, is double-headed eagle. There are different explanations for Gandaberunda, but one version is that it can take poison and nectar and assimilate it, and then it represents poison, represents evil, and nectar represents good. It can take in both. It has two heads but one body. It can take in both and assimilate and still survive. So that is one version of it. Of course, there are many different versions, and there are different variations of Gandaberunda also. That was basically given. Those variations were there because of it. Gandaberunda was given along with the title during the Raj days. So it had different variations. I think depending on there was one for an officer, one for depending on the designations the person held who was receiving the Gandaberunda as title, which design was to be given, was decided on that.
They say it gives you power. That's also one of the things. No? It makes you powerful with the Gandaberunda.
Somewhere it is depicted as a Gandaberunda carrying an elephant on one claw and carrying something else in the other claw. It just shows how powerful the bird is.
I think we have been a very low-key family from the beginning, Alva Pramoda. So they didn't promote themselves too much. Another thing, Rajasthan takes over because most of the jewelry was copied from the Mughal, this thing, that Kundan work, and it's been there in the north so much. So, and it's, I suppose, very attractive to people.
In Mysore also they do Kundan work. Maybe I am biased in favor of our Mysore work. I personally feel Mysore work is better.
Yeah, because the quality of gems used in the south are far superior, I feel, Alva Pramoda?
Far superior and
than
also
what you get in the north.
Basically, Mysore people preferred beads. I think beads were very
popular.
Quite popular with even during even in that during the Dasara festivals also they wore beads, quite a lot of beads. I think one of his the father's very famous the official picture or famous picture always
with beads,
shown with beads.
Rubies and emeralds and pearls together. All.
I think even Muriksha Jodher or Nalvadi, everybody had worn beads.
Have worn beads. Now I have seen it in Rajasthan also, but famous that pearls, they put the gold.
Yeah,
we don't wear it like all strung together. It's always with gold.
Yeah, it's
gold
it's set. It's kind of. There's a gold wire which is put through pearls. After Gandaberunda, of course, very few people wear. Now it's become very popular. Hamsa is quite common. They make Hamsa for the waist belt, for your necklace pendants. Hamsa is used extensively in the south. Peacock is auspicious too, but it's they do make peacock motifs, but slightly kind of stylized peacocks.
I think then that Kasu,
Lakshmi Kasu is also quite popular.
That is common in all South Indian thing, I think that, that gold. I personally prefer pearls, but we wear whatever, suits the occasions.
My husband was very fond of jewellery. The occasion demands we wear that. But I personally like waist belt and anklet. Those two are my favorites. Sometimes we wear it outside.
Sometimes inside.
Inside.
And earlier days, everyone wore a waist belt because it was. Now, of course, because gold has become so costly and also no one wears and goes out. But otherwise, it was a very common thing to wear a waist belt in the earlier days.
Those days it served two purposes. One, it held the sari in place. Two, it kept your waist in check. And also it gives you back support. You don't suffer from backache if you constantly wear waist belt. Even now it is very beneficial. Anklets, of course, it depends. You can wear a fancy one. So, but in the south, quite a few wear with jingles, those bells, and some are just plain anklets. In a wedding, the bride always wears an anklet. It's called Chalatumbu and Valesara.
It's like a jumki, a big one, and the Valesara is made of pearl and gold, and it holds up the.
Yeah, it goes behind your ears, and then some people do wear. There's another piece of jewelry called bugdi, which is worn here
on top of the ear.
The South India, we also have this headpiece. It's called in Kannada. It is called rakte.
Yeah, and that
Jadesara,
that
flat piece.
Flat piece.
Like my mother and my aunt, one of my aunts had a very special kind of thing. They had the Mangal Sutra with the diamond in the middle. We have two Mangal Sutras put. One is the main wedding day, and one is a later ritual which happens after the main ritual. They put two Mangal Sutras. So my mother had one Mangal Sutra, main Mangal Sutra with a diamond in the middle and rubies around it. And the second Mangal Sutra, she had all the Navratnas. My father was very particular, I believe. So that is how he had made that. One of my aunts, my father's older brother's wife, also had similar Mangal Sutra. But normally, that is, of course, depends on who's getting married and how they want the Mangal Sutra to be. But those are different. But normally we have just a plain gold round one, and a similar one, slightly smaller for the second ritual. See, particularly that waist belt we talked about, it's called dab in Kannada. That is quite what is worn in Karnataka generally. It's quite different to what is worn by the Mysore, particularly the family in our community people. It's quite different, and it has its own design and how you wear it. But what is worn generally, a lot of people wear those belts, but they are all different. Some wear those fancy ones with chains and all, but that's not our style.
It was, I think, gold for special occasions. They have the shank and all that, which is bejeweled. And of course, the Chamundi temple, a lot of jewelry is given from the palace, the hands and all that. If you see the pictures in the temple, you'll know what is typical of Mysore state.
Still they use it in their daily ritual or on special occasions. Chamundeshwari temple, they still use this gold. Particularly in our community and in the family, there is no dowry system, and at the same time, but the Mangal Sutra always comes from the groom's house. There are two main rituals, one main ritual and one subsidiary ritual. For both these rituals, Mangal Sutra comes from the groom's family. Mangal Sutra and the toe rings for the bride comes from the groom's family. Apart from that, anything else the groom side want to give it, it's their choice. The bangles, before the wedding itself, there is a particular ritual of wearing glass bangles. There's a day before or on the same day, earlier to the main wedding ritual. There is a particular ritual where they worship the bangle, and that bangle is worn by the bride. And there are other rituals, but this wearing of bangles is very important And we have a festival called Gauri festival during the year, a day before or on the same day, depending on the convenience. Again, the bangles are worshipped, and those bangles are worn prior to doing puja for that Gauri puja. So bangles are a very important ornament for women, regardless, irrespective of which family or most South Indians do wear glass bangles. It's very important. And there are different types of bangles. There are stone set bangles, kadas, carved kadas. They have, my mother-in-law had a pair of Dashavatar carved kada. I have them now. Like that, it's and gem set kadas are also quite, it's called kadaga. They are also very popular. Men also wore only for special occasions. They also wore kind of a kada which is not very common, but it was there.
You'll see in many of the photos, he and his granduncle before that with the thing, and the shirpich and earrings, because here they always wore earrings, and rings, of course. That were lot of rings he wore, and of course all wore Rudraksh mala with that gold in it. Also, that was common to my brother and my father and all. And my father also always wore the Rudraksh. So that's
my husband also wore the Rudraksh with those amulets. He was very fond of wearing.
That's like an amulet.
Yeah, there are many those. They are called yantras. Or in our language we call, in Kannada we refer to them as yantra. There are many yantras like that. Chandi yantra, Shivapanchakshari yantra, Shri yantra, many yantra, Lakshmi yantra, Surya yantra, many like that. It's hung on a chain. It's not visible.
it's a small thing.
It's small.